So that was footage from the White House Correspondents' Dinner where you saw President Trump, the First Lady, J.D. Vance, and basically everybody on that table being evacuated due to the fact that you can actually hear those audible gunshots in the background because apparently yet another assassin was trying to get in that room, presumably to target President Trump. Now, as of right now, the suspect is in custody. There were early on reports from CNN, from Caitlin Collins in particular, that indicated that the shooter was actually killed in this particular crossfire with the Secret Service, but it turns out he is alive, he is in custody, and according to President Trump's Truth Social, which by the way, it's kind of crazy that he tweeted this out almost immediately, you can actually see the man in custody, and according to the New York Post, he is somebody called Cole Allen, who is a 31-year-old California-based teacher who won Teacher of the Month in December of 2024, obviously a point in time where he was losing his sanity, because of course, Orange Man bad, and obviously this seems like his motivation. Now again, I will point out to everybody out there in the audience that we don't actually know 100% what was behind this attempt. We can assume, we can presume that because this guy appears to have left-wing indicators that likely the target was President Trump, but it could have been possibly the dumbest attempt at a mass casualty event we've ever seen, as this guy essentially blitzed past a security checkpoint of the Secret Service, to which there was a bunch of crossfire, and apparently either he or one of the Secret Service agents ended up wounding one of the officers during this particular altercation before they ended up taking him down. But as of right now, as of the reporting that I'm seeing for myself, this guy was not even wounded, which to me is absolutely crazy. Another thing that's kind of crazy is the fact that apparently you can get past a good number of agents, like 15 to 20 of them, just by running at full speed, as shown by the video that President Trump had put out. But again, this is something that is drawing a lot of attention, and obviously so, because if this is an actual attempt on President Trump, which very likely it will prove to be later on, this will be another high-profile attack on him. That's absolutely crazy. And again, it seems to get crazier and crazier that people are able to get this close to the president, especially since this happened to him when he was in Butler, Pennsylvania. He wasn't the president there, but yeah, you would think you would step it up over and over again. But again, we will talk about that a little bit more in just a little bit. As of right now, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel over on actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity, I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now, put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf.
So again, I want you guys to all know and understand that information is coming in as I am shooting this particular video. More information will likely come in after this video is published, and of course, while I'm editing this video, we will get more updates. But as of right now, what is currently being reported, and again, I will caution you that it is being reported because early on, Caitlin Collins of CNN actually reported that the shooter was in fact killed by Secret Service agents, and that turned out to not be the case. That this man apparently was staying at the hotel, or planned to stay at the hotel, and he was able to assemble the weapon in a private unsecured room and then make it up to where the security checkpoint was, then blitz the checkpoint, as you see in the video right here, before he was ultimately taken down by Secret Service. Now, a lot of people immediately are calling this staged. They're saying that this is weird, that this is odd, but I think as somebody who's been at a hotel that President Trump was speaking at, I can clear up some of the things that I'm seeing online that are obviously untrue. So first and foremost, a lot of people are posting about how the lobby of the hotel wasn't secure, and in reality, the only thing that the Secret Service seemed to be locking down was the area that gets to the room where President Trump was and where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was being held. And a lot of people think this is weird and odd and not to the security of the President of the United States, but it's really important for you guys to understand that this is something that I've actually actually experienced firsthand while I was attending Dallas CPAC years ago, and I was also staying at the hotel where CPAC was being held. So for guests who were not going into the area where the president was speaking, you actually had a pretty unobstructed entryway to the hotel and to the elevators that led to your room. It's only when you start going toward the Secret Service checkpoints that security comes up. So a lot of people are telling you that the Secret Service normally locks down the lobby. That is just not the case. Usually the hotel that hosts an event like this wants for the rest of the guests that have nothing to do with the event for things to be as normal as possible. And while you might see restrictions, as I remember from CPAC on the day that Trump spoke, on like side entrances that normally you could swipe your room key card in order to get it, typically the lobby and then the pathway to the elevators where you would get up to your rooms is actually not being run by Secret Service. Like, they may be on the floor, they may be present there, but they're really only guarding the specific choke points to where you get to the President of the United States, because remember, who they're there to protect is the President of the United States. And the reason they block off side entrances and whatnot that are typically accessible by guests when the president isn't there is because they have their own evacuation plans, that they have their own way that they want to get the president in and out of these events, so they can't have regular ordinary people there. So anybody who's telling you that the lobby is typically secured in these particular instances, they're just factually wrong. I've been at multiple CPACs, at multiple hotels in multiple states, and in none of the CPACs that I had been present at where the president was speaking on the day that he was speaking was regular ordinary access to the lobby completely restricted in the way that people are imagining. It's only when you go to the specific areas that lead to the specific rooms that you would see the security, and maybe that's a security flaw, but this is exactly what appears to be happening right here. So again, people telling you that it's weird or unusual or atypical, they're just not supported by the facts, in my opinion. And again, any media figure that actually goes to these events should know that this is true. But again, many people are going to go to the conspiracy route no matter what I say, but I just want to clarify that information for you guys out there in the audience, because I'm somebody who's been there at these events as media covering these events, and I've had to go through Secret Service security, and I know exactly where they are stationed typically, at least according to the events that I was at when I was staying at the hotel, like many regular ordinary people who had nothing to do with the White House Correspondents' Dinner would be staying at. So that, I just want to knock that out right away. Also, it's ridiculous that every single time that this person, the President of the United States, that many left-wingers are calling for violence or the death of all the time, gets these assassination attempts against him, and all of a sudden, even though the lefties are calling for his murder almost every day on the internet.com, when somebody actually takes up that call, takes up that action, people are like, well, it must be a government conspiracy. It must be something else other than the people advocating for this, and then crazy people hearing about that advocacy and taking up that mission and then making that attempt. And again, we have a guy who is a California-based teacher, so this is like the least surprising 31-year-old to be radicalized by the left that you can imagine.
So as you know, this is not the first time in the past couple of years that our republic has been attacked by a would-be assassin who sought to kill. In Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 2 years ago, you all know that story. And in Palm Beach, Florida, a few months after that, we came close. We really had, again, we had some great work done by law enforcement. But in light of this evening's events, I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts in resolving our difference peacefully. We have to resolve our differences.
Now, of course, that was President Trump speaking after this particular attempt. He talked about other assassination attempts on his life, Butler and other famous ones. And obviously, you can see his wife is pretty distraught in that particular video. But the thing is, many on the left are cheering this. And the only thing that's upsetting them is the fact that this person wasn't successful. I mean, again, if you guys will recall, these people have a whole thing, a whole meme on the internet.com about how somebody needs to do it or somebody's got to do it, some variation of that. And as Taylor Lorenz, who was an attendee at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, told us plainly in her own words, this is a direct call that is becoming more and more popular among the online left, and by the way, left-wing figures like her, to kill the President of the United States of America.
On X, TikTok, Instagram, and in comment sections all over, people are begging, pleading for someone out there to just do it. In these pleas, the subject is never stated, the action is never spelled out, but somehow we all know exactly what's being said. But in case you are somehow still in the dark, these memes are about unaliving Trump.
I mean, again, the idea that this is becoming more and more popular among the left wing, so much so that Taylor Lorenz got a 1 million view video on YouTube all about this phenomenon, should not be surprising that that would eventually lead to one person out of all of those people who are tweeting this, posting this, and advocating for this to actually take this action, especially when it's promoted by people like Jank's nephew, who's the largest left-wing streamer on Twitch.
And you actually wrote about this, and it was a great video where you talked about, someone has to do it. See, when I say that, everyone knows exactly what I mean. That which is, I think that shows that there's a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and untapped potential. Untapped revolutionary potential, as a matter of fact, and it's a great opportunity for organizing, I think.
And that's a video of him with Taylor Lorenz praising her particular video on this, talking about how everybody knows exactly what this means, and then he says it shows that there's potential for good revolutionary change, that so many people are this frustrated and this angry. So this is somebody who, of course, in the past has directly called for political violence. I mean, remember, he tweeted out the make and model of that homemade gun that killed Shinzo Abe against Tom Cotton, called for the murder of Rick Scott, and multiple other cases. And he's saying that it's a good thing that all these people are embracing this rhetoric about assassinating Trump. And the only reason I bring this up is because he was playing the victim, because people were pointing out that he was doing things like this just prior to this, along with many, many other left-wing people. So sometimes the simplest answer is absolutely the most obvious and true answer, and it looks like at this moment in time that we have a California-based teacher charging an event where Trump was. This seems like it was planned, and he was taken down by Secret Service as a consequence of that. And again, it makes perfect sense, but for some reason people are saying it's staged, it's not real, again, as if this guy Cole Allen just set himself up to go to prison for life for trying to assassinate the president of the United States just so Trump could get a bump in his approval ratings, or whatever stupid ass reason people want to bring up. But yeah, it's really horrible, it's really terrible, and again, it keeps happening because this is what is being pushed for by many people on the left. They are calling for this is something that they want. And by the way, all these like counter psyops, that exactly the violence that the left are calling for, that is happening, it's manifesting in the real world, is somehow a conspiracy, is meant to undercut your ability to assess threats properly. So yeah, thankfully the president's okay. It is not okay to harm any politicians for any reason. Obviously, this is incredibly serious. Nobody should do this. Nothing that I say should ever be interpreted as a call for violence. As soon as you pick up a gun in this manner, you have gone to hell in your actions, in your agenda, and you deserve to be punished to the fullest extent of the law, up to the death penalty, in my opinion. But yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this right here. I want to know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the craziness of yet another assassination attempt on President Trump. Till next time.